Have you ever felt like being a good person is a losing game? Like your kindness gets you nowhere, or worse, it's used against you. Maybe you've helped someone, only to have them turn around and stab you in the back. Or you've spoken the truth, and people looked at you like you're some kind of alien. Shi Heng, a Shaolin master, once said something that hits hard: the greatest tragedy is trying to be good in a world that often rewards the rotten. We're surrounded by a system where honesty gets you labeled as naive, where generosity gets mistaken for weakness, and where standing up for what's right makes you the odd one out. It's not random, it's by design. Over a century ago, thinkers like Nietzsche saw this coming. They warned us about a world that twists goodness into a liability. So why does being good feel like swimming against the tide? Picture this: you're at work, and everyone's playing the game, gossiping, cutting corners, kissing up to the boss. But you? You're straightforward. You call things as you see them, try to fix problems directly, no nonsense. Then you notice something weird. Your honesty makes people uncomfortable. They roll their eyes, call you too serious or out of touch. Suddenly, your integrity feels like a scarlet letter. Why does doing the right thing make you the bad guy? Nietzsche called this herd morality, a system where society glorifies compliance, mediocrity, and keeping your head down. It's not about lifting people up, it's about keeping the bold in check. Think about that coworker who always plays the victim, expecting you to fix their messes. You help, and they barely nod. You don't, and you're the selfish one. It's a trap where your goodness becomes their leverage. This isn't just personal, it's everywhere. The world runs on a script where those who speak out are troublemakers, where ambition is arrogance, and where refusing to bend is stubbornness. Meanwhile, the smooth talkers, the ones who fake smiles and play dirty behind closed doors, glide through life like they've cracked the code. The tragedy isn't just being good, it's realizing the system is rigged to punish it. But here's the kicker: Shi Heng teaches that true strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about owning who you are, no matter what. It's like a lotus growing in mud, it doesn't choose the muck, but it rises anyway. That's your power, to stay true, to grow, to create something real in a world that thrives on fakery. But when you're raised in a culture that calls ambition selfish or confidence cocky, something sinister happens. You start doubting yourself. You shrink. I knew a guy, brilliant musician, who spent years hiding his talent because his family said chasing dreams was irresponsible. He'd dim his light to avoid making others feel small. That's not kindness, it's fear dressed up as virtue. The world doesn't get better when you play small. It gets worse. Hiding your gifts feeds a cycle that rewards cowardice over courage. True goodness isn't about blending in, it's about standing out, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about using your unique spark to build something beautiful, even if it ruffles feathers. Because let's be real, mediocrity loves company, and it hates when you dare to shine. So how did we end up in a world where goodness feels like a trap? Shi Heng points to a toxic idea we've been fed: suffering is noble. Somewhere along the line, we were sold this lie that being good means carrying everyone else's burdens, that sacrificing yourself is the ultimate virtue. You know the type: always overworked, always complaining, always doing it for others. They wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, and everyone claps, saying, "What a saint." But look closer. Are they fulfilled? Or are they stuck in a cycle where their value comes from how much they can endure? This isn't goodness, it's a warped addiction to playing the martyr. Our culture has romanticized pain. We've been taught that chasing joy is shallow, that wanting better for yourself is selfish. Think about it: how many times have you felt guilty for being happy? Like you're not allowed to thrive unless everyone else is thriving too. This mindset creates people who sabotage their own success because they think life has to hurt to mean something. Nietzsche called this slave morality, a system that convinces you your worth lies in how much you can suffer for others. It's not about lifting you up, it's about keeping you small, tethered to guilt. And the worst part? It breeds resentment. That quiet, poisonous feeling that festers when you give too much and get nothing back. You've seen it, that person who's always helping, but secretly keeping score. They're not giving out of love, they're giving to feel superior or to cash in later. Their goodness is a transaction, not a gift. And then there's the critic, the one who tears down anyone who's succeeding. They'll call out the happy, the ambitious, the confident, saying they're fake or don't deserve it. That's not morality, it's resentment in disguise. These people gave up on their own dreams, so they need yours to fail too. They'll guilt you into staying small, calling it humility, when really, it's just their way of keeping you in their misery. This is the cage Shi Heng warns about, a world that punishes you for wanting more, for refusing to settle for crumbs. They'll say you're losing your values when you stop carrying their weight. They'll call you selfish when you prioritize your own growth. It's not about you being wrong, it's about them feeling threatened. Your light exposes their shadows. Your courage reminds them of what they've given up. So they push you down, not because you're bad, but because your goodness makes them question their own choices. But here's the flip side, true goodness isn't about suffering or shrinking. It's about power, not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that fuels your own growth. Shi Heng talks about aligning with your inner truth, like a warrior who moves with purpose, not anger. Imagine being kind because it feels right to you, not because you're scared of being judged. Helping others because it lights you up, not because you owe it to them. That's the kind of goodness that breaks the cage. It's not passive, it's active, creative, alive. It's the courage to say, I'm going to be good, but I'm not going to let the world walk all over me. That's where the real transformation begins. This twisted system doesn't just happen, it's built to keep you in line. Shi Heng would say it's like a hidden current, pulling you under if you're not paying attention. One of the sneakiest ways it works is through loneliness. When you choose to be good in a world that rewards the opposite, you often end up feeling like you're on an island. Ever been in a room full of people laughing at a cruel joke, and you just can't join in? Or worked somewhere where everyone's okay with bending the truth, but it makes your stomach turn? They'll call you uptight, boring, or too much. That sting of isolation, it's real. It's the price of holding on to your integrity when everyone else is playing a different game. This loneliness isn't a flaw, it's a signal you're doing something right. It's like being the only one awake in a room full of sleepwalkers. You see things they don't, feel things they've numbed themselves to. But it's heavy. You might start wondering if you're the problem, if you should just loosen up and go along with the crowd. But deep down, you know that would mean betraying yourself. It's like selling a piece of your soul just to fit in. Shi Heng teaches that true strength is enduring this solitude without crumbling. It's about finding peace in your own company, trusting your own compass, even when the world calls you crazy. There's a quiet beauty in this. When you stand firm, you start to know yourself in a way most people never will. You're not relying on likes, claps, or validation to feel whole. You're like a tree standing alone in a storm, your roots go deep, and you don't need a forest to hold you up. Over time, something incredible happens. Certain people, rare ones, start to notice. They're drawn to your steadiness, your realness. They feel safe around you because you're not wearing a mask. You become a lighthouse for others who are tired of the fakery, even if they can't quite put their finger on why. But here's where it gets tricky. The world doesn't just isolate the good, it commodifies goodness. Today, being good is often just a performance. People post their charity on social media, not because they care, but because it's currency. They're not kind, they're branding. You know the type, they'll help you, but you'll owe them forever. They'll smile to your face, but their words carry a hidden edge. It's goodness with strings attached, a transaction disguised as virtue. Shi Heng warns about this trap. When goodness becomes a show, it's no longer good. It's manipulation, polished to look pretty. This fakeness poisons everything. When you're genuinely kind, people squint at you like, what's the catch? Your sincerity feels suspicious because they're so used to hidden agendas. I knew someone who'd go out of their way to help coworkers, no strings attached. But instead of gratitude, they got side eyes, like their kindness was a plot. That's the rot we're up against, a world where real goodness feels so alien it's mistaken for a scam. This makes it harder to stay true, but it also makes it more vital. Your authenticity is a rebellion against a system that thrives on deceit. It's not just about being good, it's about proving that goodness can still exist, untainted, in a world that tries to corrupt everything it touches. So what does it mean to be truly good in a world that's rigged against it? Shi Heng would say it's not about playing the saint or the doormat, it's about being a warrior of your own values. Nietzsche dreamed of the overman, not some caped superhero, but someone who creates their own moral code, free from the herd's rules. This isn't about rejecting kindness, it's about redefining it. Imagine being good not because you're scared of punishment or chasing applause, but because it's the most honest expression of who you are. It's like breathing, you don't do it for a reward, you do it to live. This kind of goodness is active, not passive. It's not about saying yes to everyone or swallowing your pride to keep the peace. It's about knowing when to say no, when to stand firm, when to walk away. I know a guy who's the kindest person you'll ever meet, always there with a smile, always ready to lend a hand. But cross a line, disrespect his boundaries, and he's unyielding, like a mountain. He's not cruel, but he's not a pushover either. His goodness comes from strength, not weakness. He's generous because it aligns with his core, not because he's trying to buy approval. That's the difference, his kindness is free, not for sale. This freedom is what Shi Heng points to when he talks about aligning with your inner truth. You're not following a script written by society, religion, or your family. You're crafting your own ethics, forged in experience and reflection. It's like building a house, you keep what's solid, toss what's rotten, and create something that stands up to the storms. This kind of goodness doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a hashtag or a pat on the back. It's the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're living in a way that feels clean, true, and whole. But here's the catch, the world doesn't make this easy. Shi Heng warns that staying pure in a corrupt system can lead to two tragic paths. First, there's the lamb, those who are so trusting, so open-hearted, that they get eaten alive. They believe in everyone's goodness, even when the red flags are screaming. They're betrayed, used, and left wondering why their kindness keeps backfiring. Their purity is real, but it's like a deer wandering into a wolf's den, beautiful, but out of place. Then there's the opposite extreme, the hermits, the ones who guard their goodness so fiercely they cut themselves off from the world. They're untouchable, almost saintly, but they lose something vital: connection, messiness, humanity. They're admired but distant, like stars too far to touch. Both paths are traps, one leaves you wounded, the other leaves you isolated. But there's a third way, and it's what Shi Heng and Nietzsche both hint at, the warrior sage. This is someone who sees the world's ugliness but doesn't let it poison them. They can fight when they need to, but they'd rather create. They walk among the chaos without becoming chaotic. Think of them as a lotus in the mud, rooted in the dirt but blooming clean. They're not naive, but they're not cynical either. They know the wolves are out there, but they don't become wolves to survive. Their goodness is a choice, not a default, and that choice makes them powerful, not fragile. There's something raw and breathtaking about choosing to be good after you've seen the world's sharp edges. Shi Heng speaks of a strength that comes from facing betrayal, lies, or cruelty and still deciding to hold on to your light. It's not the blind goodness of someone who's never been burned, it's the kind that's been through the fire and comes out refined, not ruined. Picture a flower pushing through a crack in concrete. It looks fragile, but its roots are breaking stone apart. That's you when you choose goodness despite the scars. It's not weakness, it's a quiet, defiant power. This kind of goodness is rare because it's tested. Anyone can be kind when life's easy, when everyone's clapping for you. But staying good after you've been stabbed in the back? After you've poured your heart into helping someone, only to have them spit in your face? That's the real test. I knew a woman who spent years mentoring younger colleagues, sharing her expertise, lifting them up. One of them turned around and took credit for her work, got the promotion she deserved. Most people would have shut down, built walls, turned bitter. But she didn't. She kept mentoring, kept sharing, not because she's a saint, but because she refused to let someone else's rot dim her flame. That's not just goodness, it's heroism. Shi Heng would call this staying true to your inner law. It's not about following society's rulebook or chasing karma points. It's about loyalty to something deeper, your own sense of what's right, what makes you feel whole. This loyalty isn't loud or showy. It's like a musician playing through a storm, not for the crowd, but because the music is who they are. It's like a teacher who keeps inspiring kids in a broken system, not for awards, but because one sparked mind makes the fight worth it. These acts might seem small, even pointless, to a world obsessed with likes and clout, but they're sacred. They're what keep humanity from sinking into the mud. The tragedy of being good in a rotten world flips into something glorious when you see it as a rebellion. Every time you choose truth over lies, kindness over cruelty, creation over destruction, you're fighting a silent war. Not against people, but against the rot that spreads through them. Your weapon isn't hate or vengeance, it's integrity. Your strategy isn't domination, it's consistency. Your victory isn't fame or power, it's staying whole when everything tries to break you. Shi Heng teaches that this is the ultimate discipline, to walk through a world of chaos and still choose what's right, not out of obligation, but because it's your way of saying, I'm still here, and I'm still me. This warrior's goodness doesn't bend to pressure. When people lie to climb the ladder, you speak truth because it keeps you grounded. When others give up because it's easier, you keep going because it's worth it. When the world screams that you should hate, you choose love, not the blind, mushy kind, but the fierce, clear-eyed kind that knows exactly what it's up against. You're not naive, you've seen the wolves. But you know that becoming a wolf isn't the answer. It's about building something better, something beautiful, even if it's just one honest conversation, one kind act, one moment of refusing to play the game. When you embrace this kind of goodness, something shifts. It's not just about surviving a rotten world, it's about creating something better within it. Shi Heng would say it's about cultivating your inner garden, even when the ground around you is barren. Your goodness stops being a burden and becomes your masterpiece. Not the kind of masterpiece you hang in a gallery for applause, but the kind that lives in your actions, your choices, the way you move through the world. It's like a poet writing verses no one will ever read, not for fame, but because the words demand to be born. That's the power of authentic goodness, it's creation for its own sake. This goodness isn't about saving the world in one grand swoop. It's about small, deliberate acts that ripple outward. You help someone, not to get something back, but because it feels right in your bones. You tell the truth, not to prove a point, but because lies taste like poison. You keep going, not for a reward, but because giving up would betray the fire inside you. Shi Heng teaches that this is true strength, not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. It's the discipline to stay true to your values, even when the world tempts you to sell out. And here's the magic, this kind of goodness is contagious. Not in a preachy, look at me way, but like a song that sticks in someone's head. Your presence shifts the air around you. People feel it, calm, possibility, hope, without knowing why. You're not here to fix every broken thing or convert everyone to your way. That's not the point. Your mission is simpler, deeper, to be a living proof that real goodness still exists. That it's not naive or weak, but a force, creative, resilient, alive. Every time you choose integrity over convenience, you're carving out a tiny piece of paradise in a messy world. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. I know a teacher who works in a rough school, where kids are angry, systems are broken, and nobody seems to care. She could coast, do the bare minimum, but she doesn't. She listens to those kids, challenges them, believes in them. She's not changing the whole system, but for those few kids, she's a lifeline. That's what goodness does, it plants seeds, even in deserts. The greatest tragedy isn't being good in a rotten world, it's letting that world convince you to stop. When you realize your goodness is your rebellion, your art, your way of saying, I won't let this chaos define me, everything changes. You don't feel exploited anymore, because you're not giving to get. You don't feel foolish for trusting, because your trust is a choice, not a blind leap. You don't feel alone, because your integrity connects you to something bigger than the crowd's noise. Shi Heng would call this living with purpose. Your goodness becomes your signature, your way of proving that beauty, truth, and hope can still exist, no matter how dark the world gets. So keep that flame lit. Not for likes, not for praise, but because it's who you are. If you're tired of playing by rules that don't feel right, if you're ready to live more authentically, check out the exclusive content linked in the description. It's a guide to sharpen your mind, make bolder choices, and reclaim your path. Subscribe, stick around, and let's keep building something real together. The world might be rotten, but your goodness? That's your revolution.